So good to see you this morning. It's true that some of our services are filled up. I will be selling some tickets out here a little bit later if you want premium seating. Help the Chitwood family Christmas season go well. But really, I just saw that I think 3 o'clock on Christmas Eve is 95%. So you might get out your phone now if that's the service of choice. If you've reserved 20 and you're only going to use 3, please turn those back in. So it'd be great. Help us out a lot. Anyway, super glad you're here. What a beautiful morning, right? Lovely snow. It's absolutely spectacular. It's just on the wrong day, right? It should have been Christmas Day. That would have been perfect, absolutely spectacular. But by the time this snow gets to Christmas, it's going to be messy. Isn't it close? I mean, how close is Merry Christmas to Messy Christmas? I mean, literally just one letter. The R and the S. If they get switched, right, it's just a messy Christmas. In fact, our printer almost fired a guy because he thought that he spelled the Merry Christmas wrong. He said, this is Merry Christmas. It's supposed to be Merry Christmas. No, it's messy. No, it's not. And so sure enough, we printed thousands of those things. And the guy didn't get fired, which is great because he comes to church here. But really, messy and Merry Christmas are pretty close to each other. So much so that, like the snow today, after a little while, what are we going to say? It's just making a mess. It's just making a mess. After the carnage of all the paper and the wrapping, the bows are laying in the living room, we just like, what a mess. And oftentimes, Christmas can get pretty messy. Our expectations right now are pretty high. Like we've done the list. We purchased food, and Amazon knows us really well. We're so does the UPS driver. Everything is arriving. We think it's going to be way better, right? Way better than that last year was. Last year was a disaster. For many multiple reasons, quite possible that Christmas gets pretty messy, but we want it to be better this year, and we're planning it. Some of you are full throttle. You're hitting the stores. You're hitting, the online sales. You've been planning this. You know the exact routes you're taking, so look at every great Christmas light presentation. You've been to see the reindeer at Mulhall's. It's absolutely spectacular. You're like, it's going to be way better, right? Except for now this snow just ruin everything. Now, I can't, right? It's just everything kind of gets messy. How do you know if you're going to have a Merry Christmas or a messy Christmas? Well, you can answer it like this. It's just not Christmas without. And you can fill whatever blank you fill in there, right? It's just not Christmas without. And if that doesn't get filled, if that expectation doesn't happen, then things are terrible. I saw the definition of expectation. It is planned disappointments. Planned disappointments. We truly believe that all of our stuff, if I get everything on my list and everything on my list done, then things will go pretty well. Let me just ask you this. What if happiness was not our goal for Christmas? I know that seems weird because it's the happiest season of all, right? So if it's but what if we decided this year we weren't aiming for happiness, we were aiming for something else? And let me suggest this. Let's aim for contentment over happiness. Now, that's not going to play well for advertisers. It's certainly not going to help the bottom line at Kohl's and Shields this year. That we should just be content with what we have. In fact, that's kind of the opposite. In fact, there's a lot of stuff, even though I might have a bunch, there's still a lot of stuff I don't have. That would probably make this Christmas merry and bright. But what if we decided to aim for contentment? By the way, even if you spend more money this year on gifts than you did last year, it probably still won't be enough. In fact, even if you buy all the stuff on the list, it probably isn't enough. And we know this, that we know that money can't buy a great marriage. It can't buy great friends. It can't even buy us peace or wisdom. Time magazine reported that 70% of rich families lose their wealth by the second generation. The article highlights how poorly prepared the second generation is at handling wealth that is passed down to them. One financial consultant put it like this: most of them have no clue as to the value of money. We tried our best to help our children understand the value of money. And I remember specifically one time when cell phones became the thing of choice. And they both had jobs and they're in high school and they want to have cell phones. And so we said, okay, let's take a look. And in fact, they said this: we will pay for it. We will pay for it. And like, okay, do you understand that it's $30 a month? Yes. For 2 years. Is it a 2-year commitment? That is $720. $720. Yes, we want a cell phone. All right. How long does it take for you to make $720 working at Chipotle? Doesn't matter. All right. Now, 10 years later, that's not a $720 commitment. That's a $7,200 commitment. And they're still on my plan. How'd that happen? Who's the fool, right? The fool. What I'm trying to do is this is the value of money. This is how long it takes for you to earn that. That's how long, right? And how quickly it takes for you to spend that. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10 says, those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless. By the way, we could put something else in there. Those who love toys will never have enough. Those who love, right? Whatever you want to put in there, it will never be enough. But he just throws money in there because I think it totally makes sense, right? Those who love money will never have enough. Listen, how meaningless to think that wealth brings what? True happiness. If I just had more, it'd make me happier. Philippians chapter 4, verse 12 says, I know, and the guy the writer says, I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I've learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it's with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little. I've learned, in fact, he says, I've learned to be content, whether I had a lot or whether I had a little. I think it's hard to learn to be content, right? That's something that doesn't come naturally. I don't think there's anybody that's born with a contentment gene that it's like, hey, I'm fine. Everything, I have everything that I need. Probably not a lot. So I have to learn how to do that. And that's hard. In fact, he follows up that verse with Philippians chapter 4:13, which is most people's favorite verse, right? If I was to ask you, what is your favorite verse? Most people today would say Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Oftentimes, athletes will quote this as if it helps them be a better football player, a better basketball player. They'll put it on their little things like here, right? I can Philippians 4:13, and I get that. I like that verse, but it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with success on a football field. It has nothing to do with whether or not you can slam dunk a basketball. And the reality is, I cannot do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. I can't. Like today, if you were to give me a basketball and a 10-foot rim and say, Mark, slam the ball, I'd go, okay, I can do all things through Christ who gives me, I can do all things, I think I can, right? And I take a big run at the deal, right? And I'm going to go up and I'm going to slam dunk that ball because I have memorized Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ. Give me the strength to slam dunk a ball, right? Now, truth of the matter is, I used to be able to do that. I know there are doubters in the room. And this was before anybody had a phone to record anything, so it's just my word and a couple of other people who might have seen it that day, right? But I cannot slam dunk a basketball on a 10-foot rim without the help of a lift or a trampoline. So I can't. And that verse has nothing to do with self-help stuff. It has everything to do with contentment. He follows it up, that passage of Scripture. I know how to live on almost nothing or with a whole bunch of stuff. I've learned the secret of being content. And he says, I can only pull that off with the strength that Jesus gives me. The strength that Jesus gives me to live a life of contentment. That I have everything that I need. That to me is peace. That's that peace that we so lack at a Christmas season. We're so worried about fulfilling the expectations that we have for this year's Christmas. And if it doesn't happen, we have zero peace in our life. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, Jesus says, no one can serve two masters. You're going to hate one, love the other. You'll be devoted to one, despise the other. You cannot serve God and be enslaved to money. And I wish that this verse wasn't in the Bible. I wish I could say, you guys can pull this off. You totally can love God and money and stuff, whatever, at the same time. It's not going to be a problem. I can do it. You can do it. We can do this, right? But the truth is that Jesus is in there for a reason. It's like he says, you really shouldn't be dating two people at the same time. By the way, that's a good advice for those of you in that world right now. Don't try to go, like, if you're at, like, oh, what Christmas party is she going to be at? If you're asking that, you're going to have a messy Christmas, right? So don't be doing that. It's like, it sounds fun, but it's really going to make things more complicated. So you're welcome. But he says, you cannot serve God and money at the same time. You can't pull that off. You're either going to love God and hate money, or you're going to love money and hate God. And so let's figure out, how do I learn to be content with what I have? I think the best way for us is to become generous. And that's truly why we like this season of all. It truly is a happy season, because for a little while in our lives, we've planned generosity. We're going to be generous. We may not be able to buy everything but we're going to be generous with the few folks that we truly love for just a little while. And it does something to our heart. Giving does that to our heart in spectacular ways. Some of the most generous people I know are poor people that I met in India. This last trip that we took out there just messed me up, because we went to a village that I'd not been before, and it was perhaps the poorest situation I'd ever seen. These people had nothing. And for you and I, it's unthinkable and unfathomable. We went to their little place, and they weren't looking for money. They didn't ask us for anything. In fact, they gave us stuff. They gave us food, which I just thought, you have no idea how much I waste. And you're giving me food. And their kids were happy. Their kids waited for us to eat. And I sat there thinking, I know very little of a generous heart. And they seemed very content, as if they didn't need anything else. And I kept wondering, how are they going to do tomorrow? How are they going to do tomorrow? I don't know. They were so grateful that we just showed up. One of the things that can go real long ways in teaching our families how to be content is to be generous. And I would encourage you to sponsor a child through Compassion International or Mid-India Christian Mission. Both of them are mission partners, and you can find them online. We'd be glad to help you with that. This past, maybe 2 weeks ago, Linda and I got an update from Compassion International. We sponsor a young boy named Enrique, and they let us know that we've been sponsoring him for 5 years. And I thought, no way, that couldn't be true. And it even said, here's how many letters you and Enrique have exchanged. Here's how many gifts you've sent. And here's how many smiles you've created. Now, I think they were lying about that one. It's like they don't know, right? They're not measuring Enrique's smiles. But I sure had some. And for a little bit of money every month, I'm able to help and be generous. And I think it'd be a great thing, maybe even for you this Christmas season, as you sit down and think, hey, one of the things we're going to do as a family this year at Christmas time is we're going to sponsor a child through Compassion or through Mid-India. And that is going to bring you exactly what you want. It's going to bring you happiness. It's going to make a huge difference. Hebrews chapter 13:5 says, don't love money, be satisfied with what you have. Sounds like my mom. Where'd she learn this? For God has said, I will never fail you, and I will never abandon you. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 says, yet true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. Ha! That's it? I thought it was the stock market. I thought it was my investments. I thought it was my inheritance. I thought it was my retirement. True godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us. When we came into the world, we can't take anything with us when we leave it. So if we have enough food and enough clothing, let us be content. Godliness with contentment is great wealth. Wow. Godliness, that little thing that we typically forget at, even at Christmas time. You think we would remember it well. Godliness is conforming to the wishes of God. Conforming to the wishes of God. It's saying this prayer and living it out loud. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We love that prayer. We just don't like saying that one, right? Thy will be, give us this day, right? Give us this day, right? Thy will be done on earth as, whoa, thy will? Now it's easy to say, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. But I'd like you to say it like this, thy will be done in my life. Thy will be done here as it is in heaven. Let's not make it so vague that we just gloss it over. Yeah, I wish it was thy will was done on earth. It's obviously not, but oh well, I prayed for it. What if I prayed, thy will be done here in my heart as it is in heaven? The reasons that things are so messy at Christmas time is we care very little about godliness. We don't mind Christmas songs and Christmas things, but Christmas has caused us to be so busy that we even neglect our relationship with God. In fact, I saw the top 10 Christmas movies of all time, and not one of them had anything to do with Jesus. Not one of them. There's an elf, there's a reindeer with a nose thing, right? There's a yippee-ki-yay. Nothing about Jesus. So carve out some time for his birth. Carve out some time for godliness. Now, in 1 Timothy, which we just read, verse 6 through 8, I want to read a little bit farther, and I didn't include this, but I should have, but here we go. Verse 10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. So we know that, right? It's not that money is, it's the love of money. So money is not the root of all evil. It's not. It's the love of money. So he says, love of money is at the root of all kinds of evil. Listen here. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. The love of money has caused that to happen in our hearts, that we've wandered from the faith. Rarely does anybody wake up in the morning going, I'm chucking the whole God thing. I don't need it anymore. It's a bunch of whatever. We don't wake up doing that. We don't wake up super far from God. One morning we're okay, one day we're okay with God, and the next morning we're not, right? It doesn't happen like that. What happens, and it might, but if there's massive tragedy or certain things that have set us off, that I don't want God in my life anymore. But for the most part, we just wander. We don't mean to, but for whatever reason, and there's multiple reasons, maybe it never stuck very well in the first place, and once we got away from mom and dad and happened to go, we just stopped, right? And it just was kind of that way. We went to college, and none of our friends were going, and so we just drifted. Here it says that the love of money causes us to do the same thing. And again, typically this is when we're making more money than we ever thought, and we're doing really well, and we just are too busy making money or picking up an extra a little bit, and we're exhausted on Sundays because we've worked ourselves to death on Monday through Saturday, that the only thing we want to do is just veg out a little bit. And we don't mean to do it, but we think, hey, it's not a big deal. I'll miss this week. It's not a big deal. I'll miss this week. And after a little while, we just have kind of wandered. And some of you are here today even thinking this. Because for some reason you're here. I wonder if I can get back to God. After all, I don't know if it's possible. And you're wondering that. You don't know. Maybe I can't. Maybe I feel as if I'm never going to be good enough. I wish I could. I remember what it was like when I used to love going to church, and I loved giving money, and I loved serving, and I loved reading my Bible, and I loved the things of God. I don't know. It's pretty messy. Well, if you're wondering that, let me clear that up for you. Yes, you can. That's the whole meaning of Christmas. It's the whole reason he came, is to bring you back to God. And yes, you may have wandered from the faith, and you may have drifted a long ways down the river here. But if you would just say, I want Jesus back in my life, that would be a very Merry Christmas for you. It would. Remember how I asked the question, it's just not Christmas without? It's just not Christmas without, right? And I could fill in, it's not Christmas without my mom's apple pie. It's not Christmas without that. I love my mom's apple pie. On top of that, even more so than my mom's apple pie, is the fact that my mom and dad will spend hours at harvest season scraping corn off sweet corn and compiling it in whatever they do and freezing it so that on Christmas we can have sweet corn. Ha! My parents are better than yours. It's amazing, right? Mashed potatoes and gravy and ham, whatever. It's just not Christmas without a big meal or a big pile of presents or you fill in the blank, whatever it is. Being all together. I get that. And I look forward to those things. But it truly is not Christmas without Jesus. And maybe you're thinking, well, I don't know. I guess that would be a good wish. What if you trusted this today? For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. For God so loved you and me that he created Christmas. He gave us Jesus. Now you got to open it. You got to open the present. Well, how do I do that? Well, we would say this. If you would put your faith and trust in him and turn your life over to him and be baptized, you will receive the gift. You will have Christmas. And he will come and dwell in your heart. Here in our Omaha campus, we're going to celebrate that in just a little bit. We're going to see Felipe get baptized, and we're, as an entire congregation, going to celebrate with that today. I hope you'll get to see that at our other campuses as well. And we're super excited about that. In our baptistry over here on our side here, you'll get to watch that and witness it during a song. If you're new to the whole deal, we will clap and celebrate when that happens. And we're not going to go to hell for that, right? So it's okay to do that. So we're like, yes, you can do that. So when that happens, we'll celebrate with Felipe and his family and look forward to that as well. All right? But maybe you want to do this as well. Christmas is a wonderful season of the year to give yourself to Jesus as well. You want to give Jesus a gift this year? Give yourself to him. Let's pray. Perhaps, God, right now, contentment is the last thing we have in our life. Our hearts are discontent, even though we may be making more money and spending more money than ever before. And we look around at stuff and go, oh, please tell me this is not it. Please tell me that this is not it. That there has to be something else. And perhaps somebody here right now is making the decision to have a very Merry Christmas. In Christ we pray.